All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. I think that's about it now. So our next talk, I would like to introduce you, Sherry LeBlanc. She is a certified yoga therapist and a former dancer who has been teaching movement awareness and yoga in Toronto for 40 years. She's the director of Yoga for Kids, a certified yoga therapist, and a program teacher for Yoga for the Special Child. She continues to be intrigued by all the facets of movement and its potential to change our perception. With you, Shirley LeBlanc.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know if it's morning anywhere you are. It's afternoon for me. And I'm so excited to be here and so thrilled to be offering this workshop. I feel like I've been preparing it for a long time, and I'm like the Olympic runner at the starting line, ready to go. So I want to thank everyone at the conference for Shivakami and Anata allowing me to present this workshop, and for all the people that are helping me with the tech. Um, I'm going to get into it right away because I want to share some information with you, but more than that, I want to share an experience. So, as it's already been said, I am fascinated by movement, and I have been for over 50 years. And it's my way of finding my truth and expressing my truth. And I never get tired of watching people move. I'm just always so inspired. And my interest in eye movements, or the eyes, happened several years ago when I was doing Netravyayamam with one of my teenage students who was on the autistic spectrum. And I noticed when she was moving her eyes in a circle that she always missed one quadrant. And I would look at this and think, I think I'm looking at this child's brain, but I didn't know what that meant. But this began a curiosity, and I continued to look into this. And since then, I've been doing research and exploration and studying with people. And for me, exploring movement and the movement of the eyes, it's like sitting in a movie theater with a box of popcorn and a bottle of Perrier and getting ready for the best movie ever. So I am always very excited about this and this exploration, and I want to share it with you. So I'm going to start right away. Oh, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, wait. What what happened? I don't know what happened to my eyeball. Where did it go? This is why I don't like, don't judge me.
Sherry, I have it. Hang on.
Thank you, Kathy. See, I always rely on Kathy. Thank God. Next week, I'm learning how to share the screen. Next week, I'm tech for another conference. All right, well, while we're waiting for the eyeball, which is coming up, thank you, Kathy. So, so you're looking at a very simple eyeball here, and we because we all do netroviaimum and we talk a lot about the optic nerve, I thought it would be interesting for you just to look at some very simple anatomy of the eye. So when light rays enter the eye, the cornea, the clear half dome on the front of the eyeball, it tries to focus light directly on the retina in order to get the clearest image. Well, the pupil and the lens also do this, but they have a different function. They have different functions. The retina is the sensory membrane that lines the inner surface of the back of the eyeball. And this is where the process of sight begins and sharp vision is produced. So this whole red area. The retina contains two types of specialized neurons called photoreceptors. Most of these photoreceptors, called rod cells, provide peripheral vision, black and white vision, and shades of gray. They perceive movement and function well in low light. And it's significant that most of these photoreceptor cells are rod cells. The other cells, called cone cells, are responsible for central and color vision, fine details, and perform best in medium and bright light. Now, you can see the retina. Inside this retina, you can see the macula. And you probably all heard of the macula. And then inside is the fovea. Now, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly because I've never heard it said. Now, the retina is responsible for sharp sight, and it contains both rods and cones. The macula, you have sharper sight because it has more cones, but not all cones. There's still some rods. And the fovea contains only cone cells. So this is our sharpest vision. The photoreceptor cells convert light into chemical and electrical signals. The optic nerves takes this current and sends it to the visual cortex at the back of the head for processing, where these signals are converted into images and visual perceptions. So in the brain, the optic nerves, because we have two eyes, two nerves, cross over, and this makes it possible for the brain's visual cortex to register equal visual fields from both eyes. So not all these fibers cross, but most of them cross. The brain has to take in the world by merging slightly different information from two eyes. An important function of the brain is to integrate all sensory information into a perceptual whole. So again, the optic nerve triggers light, is a messenger that transmits visual information from the eyes to the brain and helps determine what we see. It's part of the nervous system. It's the second cranial nerve. So in the eye exercises, at the end when we cover our eyes, we're closing out all the light. And this gives our optic nerves a complete rest when it's dark. And we're also calming the nervous system. We're calming the mind. And this helps to relax the tonus around the eyes, the muscles around the eyes. There are 6 muscles that help our eyes to move, and we have one that keeps the eyelids up. Now there's one more area I want to talk about because it's important for the workshop. There's a thin layer of tissue found between the sclera, which is the white of the eye, which ironically is black in this photo, the white of the eye and the retina. And this thin layer of tissue is made up almost entirely of blood vessels and accounts for 85% of the blood flow within the eye. The eyes and clear vision depend on sufficient blood supply, and these blood vessels supply oxygen and nutrients to the retina, macula, and optic nerve to keep them healthy and functioning. Okay, thank you, Kathy. I don't need this anymore. Thank you. So our visual system is wired before or shortly after birth. But infants don't see with the kind of clarity experienced by an adult, and their sensory world is very different from an adult's. It's our visual experience from the moment we open our eyes that influences our brain circuitry. We have to learn how to use our eyes from the moment that we open them to achieve sharp sight. We have to learn to move our eyes so that similar usable images fall on both retinas. We have to learn to aim both eyes at the same place at the same time, to hold our gaze, to look near and far away, and to orientate ourselves in space. So to know where we are in space and to have a good sense of surroundings, we need more than sharp sight. We need good peripheral vision. We need to use the information from our entire visual field to develop a good spatial sense. In other words, we need to look far and wide. Infants learn about space through their own movements, touch, and vision. And infants' emerging motor skills reinforce their developing visual skills, and vice versa. Movement is essential for the development of the infant and the child. We cannot perceive the world in any detail without moving at the same time. And perception and movement are intricately linked in a continuous two-way conversation. We have to experience ourselves as a moving being. Sensing the world is not a passive process, but requires active exploration. In summary, our vision occupies maybe 60% of the capacity of the brain. It organizes everything we do in our movements. It gives us the ability, if we are lucky, to be able to see objects clearly. It allows us to express our emotions and to communicate with each other. And yet, the eyes are completely unconscious. We need to bring them into consciousness so as to bring energy to the eyes so we can heal the eyes. And that's what we're going to do in this workshop. Now, part of my exploration was I learned about a man when I was reading Dr. Deutsch's book about neuroplasticity, the brain that changes itself. He wrote another book, and in that book I read about a man who lost his sight due to an autoimmune disease that destroyed his vision, and he regained his vision. He healed his eyes, not 100%, but he healed his eyes. He'd had many surgeries, and I realized, wow, I know who this guy is. He just teaches down the road from me. So this was perfect. So I went and I took many classes with him. I would say I studied with him, and it changed my whole perception. And he gave me permission in 2017 to share some of his work at the YSC conference in London. Dear David passed away in 2018 after a long struggle with cancer, and I am going to share some of his work today, and I believe I have his blessing. So I have asked today that you bring a mat, because most of this class, well, all of it's going to be on the floor. We're going to be lying on our back, and we're going to be lying on our front. But it's important that you're comfortable. So a yoga mat is fine, but you might want to put this yoga mat on a carpet. I know I have two kinds of mats, one that's a little thicker and one that's thinner. So if you want to put more padding under yourself, we are going to put ourselves in a position which may require that you have a pillow or some pillows. So get yourself set up, and if there's anyone that doesn't feel comfortable lying down on their back, if they need to adjust themselves in some way, then by all means do that. But what's most important is that you feel comfortable. So you can come lying down whenever you're ready. I'm not going to be doing anything, so there's nothing for you to see. Just find, you're just going to be listening to my voice. Just make sure that if you put a pillow under your head, that you're aligned, that your neck and the rest of your body is aligned. You don't want it too thick. And then if you're wearing glasses, please take your glasses off so the muscles of the eyes aren't fixed and the brain isn't fixed. And your brain and your eyes are free to change. So now that you're on the floor, just bring your legs long down, and legs are long at the side, your arms are long, and just notice that you're contacting the floor. And notice where the weight of your body presses clearly into the floor. And just look around inside and see what parts of yourself are obviously pressing into the floor. Notice that your pelvis is resting on the floor. Your pelvis is a heavy bone, and feel that it's pressing down. Now feel the width of your shoulders, the shoulder girdle, and notice that it's pressing into the floor. Maybe this sense is not available to you, but just bring your awareness there. And now the back of your head is heavy, so you feel this pressing into the floor. And now your heels. And can you notice that the right heel might be different than the left? Now notice your calf muscles and notice if there's a different sensation between the left and the right. And go back to your pelvis and notice your pelvis on the left and the right. Is one side heavier or presses differently? Is there more weight? Does it feel flatter? Is one side lifted? Now bring attention to your lower back. Does it lift? It may not. So your spine attaches to the pelvis, and as it ascends towards your head, it lifts at the lower part. So at the base of the spine, there's an arch for most people, but not everyone. And then compare the right and the left side. Perhaps the muscles feel different. Continue to follow the spine up in the direction of your head. And maybe your spine comes down and touches the floor in the middle somewhere. So anywhere between your lower back to the ribs. So on either side of your rib are your ribs, and your spine passes between the ribs. Can you sense that your spine is touching the floor anywhere in that area? You might not. And it might feel different on both sides. Now feel your ribs on the left and the right. Are your ribs touching the floor? Is the contact different on both sides? Feel your shoulder blades, left and right. And what about the spine between them? Feel your right arm, shoulder to hand. Feel your fingers and how they curl. When they're relaxed, they curl. Now compare your whole right arm with your whole left arm. And notice if they give you different information on both sides. We're not judging, we're just observing. Now feel that your neck lifts and your head rests on the floor. So throughout your whole self, there's a wave of pressure and lifting. And let that go and feel where you're breathing. Notice the parts of yourself that move while you breathe, and notice where those parts are. Place your right hand very gently over the place where you feel most movement when you're breathing. Let your hand rest there for a moment, and if you're quiet with your hand, and pay attention to the contact of your hand with yourself, you will learn something clear about where your breathing is. Is it below or above your belly? Is it in your chest? In your upper chest? Between your navel and your pubic bone? Your sides? Your back? All those parts are involved with breathing, and there's not a right or a wrong. It differs for everybody. And then let it go and bring your arm down by your side again. And notice how simply bringing attention to the contact with the ground changes your nervous system. The ground is hard. There's a hardness to what supports us. That's the essence of it. It's hard. Notice that when we bring our attention to that contact with ourself, the nervous system shifts into a state where learning is possible. Neuroplastic learning becomes available in that place, in that state, and that's what we're going to work in. Now let's start to move. Roll your head just the slightest amount to the left and to the right. Make this movement so small that you don't feel like you're working to do it. It's just the fact that you can do it. That's important. Feel this easy place that's at the beginning of the movement. Feel that easy space. And notice at a certain point there's a bit of resistance, and if you go past that, then the movement will come to a stop because your system says, don't go any further, or it's going to be uncomfortable or hurt, something like that. Find a way to move that's easy and simple because we're looking for the quality of the movement. Is it easier to go to the left or the right? Does it feel like you're going uphill on one side and downhill on the other? And what's the range where it's completely fluid, simple, and easy? Can you do it and still breathe? There's no need to hold your breath to roll your head. Rolling and breathing, simple. So this breathing, this rhythm of your breath and the rhythm of your movement gives the brain something to focus on, something rhythmical, and lets it know that everything's easy. Then stop and rest in the middle. All right, so now we're going to move into a position where we're going to spend a lot of time. So you're going to try to find a way that's the most comfortable for you. So you're going to bend your knees, stand on your feet. So your feet are flat on the floor, as if you were going to do bridge pose. And allow your knees to open so the soles of your feet are towards each other, but not touching. So the knees are dropped out. And then just adjust yourself. Take a moment to make yourself as comfortable as you can in this position. And you can bring your legs back into flat feet anytime. And for the most part, this is the position that we'll be working in. So remember, if you start to feel uncomfortable, give yourself a rest. Bring your knees up or slide them down. Now, bring your arms so the back of your hands are in the direction of your head, and so that they are resting on the floor somewhere near your ears, and your elbows, if possible, are just resting on the floor. If you need support, then use a pillow. For instance, maybe one shoulder, you don't feel your elbow on the floor or the back of your hand and it feels uncomfortable. You're very welcome to add some support to that. It doesn't matter if you're not doing the same thing on the other side. Just be comfortable. So the back of the elbows and the back of the hands. No pain. Don't create any difficult. Modify it any way you need to. Don't make it intense, and rest when you need to. Now, try not to have your feet too close to your hips. Have your feet a little further away. Now begin to press the back of your head into the floor, just a little bit. That spot where your head is resting. Let the back of your skull press, and then let it go. Feel your breathing. And continue in a rhythmical way. And when we move a part of ourselves, in this case, press, something else is going to lift. Can you press the back of your head into the floor and notice what moves in relationship to the pressing? When something goes down, something has to lift. Something has to respond unless we're holding it fixed. What happens in your neck when you press your head back? You're not looking for big movement, just the sensation of movement. What happens perhaps in your spine, in your breastbone? Let it go and just rest where you are, unless you need a bigger rest. Let's bring our arms and our legs down. Let's do that. So we're going to take lots of rests. So in this workshop, we're building up a whole sequence of movements which are actually reflections of the brain's patterns of movement. And the brain needs to integrate and learn from all these new impressions. And it's in the rests, just like in sleep, when the brain goes over what it has experienced and learns from it. So the rests are just as important as the movement. So while you're lying there, do you notice your eyes? Do you feel them? What's your relationship with your eyes right now in this moment? Not what any doctor has said. Do you feel your eyes in your head? Many of us don't, or you might feel one eye more than the other. What is it for you? And we'll see what that means later. Now come back into this frog position that we have. Our knees are dropped out, our elbows are bent, they're up around our ears, the back of our hands are on the floor. And breathe easily and feel the opening in your chest. Now, press the back of your right hand into the floor. Just the back. Press it into the floor and then release and keep breathing easily. Not working hard. Press, release. Press just enough to feel the connection with the floor and notice what lifts or what part of yourself seems to lift or go up when you press your hand down. What's your elbow doing on the right side when you press the hand down? What direction does your elbow go in? Maybe you feel something else. Let that go. Now press the right elbow only, just enough to be clear. What lifts? Creating that rhythmic movement. Feeling yourself breathe and let it go. Now the right shoulder. Press that into the floor, and there may be many ways to do it. Nothing's right, nothing is wrong. How do you isolate the muscles around the shoulder so that the shoulder blade will go towards the floor? Think it through. Find your way and notice what lifts or responds. Might not be lifting. Do you feel anything in your chest? Because if the shoulder blade goes down, something has to happen in the ribs. You might not feel it. Let that go. Now let's go back to our head. Press the back of your head again into the floor a few times smoothly, easily, so it's clear. Now open your eyes and then squeeze your eyes as you press the back of your head into the floor. It's almost as if the eyelid comes over the eye and then wants to press the eye a little bit, and then you let that go all at the same time. So as you press your head, you squeeze your eyes, and then you release. You can still breathe. Just feel the shape of the eye. It's like you have fingers around the eyes and you squeeze the eyes a bit and you let go. As you let go of your head and let it all go. Bring your arms down, your legs down, and just take a moment to rest. Bring your legs and arms back up, back into this frog position. Now, press the back of your head, the right hand, the right elbow, and the right shoulder back into the floor all at one time. And release. Then again, but include the eyes. Squeeze the eyes. Release. And continue. Now continue, but now pay attention only to the right eye and notice the sensations of the right eye. And continue. Squeezing and releasing, but notice the sensations of the right eye. And don't forget to breathe. Soften your jaw. Soften your breathing. Let it go completely and bring your arms and your legs down. Go back to feeling the contact that you make with the floor. Pay particular attention to that whole area of the upper right side that we've just been exploring, and notice if that feels different than the left side. Notice any differences. Feel your whole back, your legs, your arms, your head, and notice if there's a difference from when you were lying on the floor in the beginning. Bring yourself into the same position again. Arms up, legs being frogs. Now, press the right side of your lower back and a bit of the lower rib cage into the floor. Let it go. So just the right side. How can you isolate that? Maybe it helps to roll a bit of weight on that side. You have to find your own way to do it. But can you feel that you have a middle of your torso and it can somehow be pressing a bit just to find out where it is? And let that go. Then press the right side of your pelvis into the floor, just the right side. So the hip joint, how can you isolate that? So just as you did with your shoulder blade, first you have to figure out how to do it. Can you find a way to press the right side of your pelvis so there's a little more pressure going into that part and let it go? Of course, you have to find your hip joint. It's not the big bone at the outside. It's actually much deeper in the pelvis. Think of the dimples on your back, on the back of your pelvis. And if you don't have dimples, maybe you've seen them on someone else. And that's where your hip joints actually are. So think of pressing deeper in the pelvis on the right side. And then when you do it, notice if other parts are involved. What's happening on the left side of your pelvis when the right side goes down? What happens on the left side? It will go up like a teeter-totter. And breathe. Check your jaw to make sure you're not holding it tight. And then let that go. And press the outside of your right foot into the floor. And notice what responds. Press and push. Press it away a little bit as if you wanted to push yourself up in bed. As if you wanted to go a little higher. You could imagine doing that by pressing and pushing your foot. And as the pressure goes down, you can feel that connection, that force that goes through the leg into the pelvis and maybe up into the spine somewhere. It's meaningful to your body to press your foot that way. Maybe for some of you it goes up into your head. Now, press the right side of your foot and the right side of your pelvis at the same time and feel how your body adjusts. Where does your weight go? Now, all on the right side, press your foot, your pelvis, your lower back, your shoulder blade, the hand, the right eye, and the back of your head, all at the same time. You're squeezing both eyes, of course, but feel the right eye. And can you make that rhythmic, smooth, coordinated? So when you feel that the right eye is squeezing, it becomes part of the whole global movement that involves the whole right side. Now, when that's not so interesting, take a rest. Bring your arms down. Bring your legs down. Now feel your whole right side. What's the contact that you're making on the right side from your foot to your head and all the parts between? And compare that to the left side and notice if there's a difference. Does one side feel longer or contacting the floor in a different way? And that's an example how the brain learns when you give it the right information. It integrates all the parts together and it releases tension that you didn't even know you were carrying. And we feel that way by the way we contact the floor. Now bring your legs and arms back into the same position. Now please press the outside edge of your left foot into the floor. Really press it, making it useful as if you wanted to scoot yourself up. Feel how the force goes through the foot to the knee, right into the hip joint. And when it's in the hip joint, it affects the pelvis. And then if it's in the pelvis and it's pushing, then it's in the spine. And how far up the spine does the movement go? Release, breathe. Let your jaw be soft, your shoulders be soft, your eyes be soft. Let that go and press your left hip joint into the floor. What happens in your back or your belly? What happens on the right side of the pelvis? Then press the left foot and the left side of your pelvis at the same time. Get the timing right. They start to press at the same moment and they stop at the same moment. Let your legs go long, your arms come down. And notice how your left leg feels now. Has there been a change in the perception of yourself? How does your left leg compare to your right? All right, legs and arms back up into the frog position. Press the middle of yourself on the left side. So that would be anywhere between your lower back to the ribs on the left. Just to find out, how can you touch the floor with the middle of yourself, and where does your weight go when you do that? What do your ribs do? Can you feel how your lower back can get closer to the floor on one side? Doesn't have to be a big movement, just big enough to sense clearly, and then let that go. Now, just press your left shoulder into the floor. Find the shoulder blade. When you find your shoulder, what happens in the front of yourself? Let your tongue, your jaw, your eyes be soft. And then your elbow on the left side, just the elbow. Feel what lifts. What does that shoulder blade do when you press that elbow down? Can you feel it in your chest? Press and push the elbow like you did with the foot and see if you can affect the chest a little bit. Now let the elbow go and press the left hand, just the back of the hand that's connected to the elbow and the ribs through the shoulder blade. Let all that go and just press the head and squeeze the eyes. If you go in a nice smooth way, you can begin to press back and you can squeeze the eyes in coordination. You release the head, you unsqueeze the eyes. And you might even notice when you squeeze that you can be very firm, unless you're having some kind of big problem with the health of your eyes. Then of course don't squeeze too hard. But you can feel the eyeball a bit. And when you release, there's some warmth that comes into the eyes. And you can rest in the warmth. That warmth is blood. Now, press the head, the left shoulder, the left eye, elbow, hand. Breathing is easy. Release. This is bringing awareness to the eyes in connection with the neck, the head, the shoulder, the arm. You don't have to interrupt your breathing. Let it all go and lower your arms and rests. Now, feel your eyes now compared to how they were in the beginning. Is there a difference? Feel your right shoulder and the whole chest area and compare that now to the left side. See, the brain learns by noticing differences. It doesn't learn by having a fixed position as to this is good or that is bad, I'm a failure because I don't understand the instructions, so I'm no good. These dialogues are irrelevant to the organization of your brain in terms of movement and the eyes. All we want is to notice differences because the brain has the capacity to integrate differences, and that's what it does. That's really what learning is. In its essence, noting differences and letting the brain's intelligence figure out how to balance the differences. Most of us in our life, because of the way our culture has taught us, are always looking to have the right position or the right answer. It's always fixed. In real learning, the way a child learns, they learn by noticing differences, and this lesson is exactly what children do after birth as infants. When you're just lying on your back all day long, the first thing you've got to do outside eating and sleeping is that you have to find out where you are in the world, both relative to the ground, and that's what this exploration is, and that's precisely what infants do for months and months and years. So what we're doing in this lesson is rebuilding the visual system, strangely enough, from the way it starts as infants. The first thing the infant does is it presses into the floor to find out where it is, because that's the beginning of being oriented in space. Later the eyes will come in, but first you have to know where you are. Where's your spine? Your legs? Where are your arms? And that's what this lesson is doing. The development of the human being to rebuild and eventually re-educate our eyes. And you can feel it's quite an interesting process. Now you're going to turn over and lie comfortably on your front. Oh, just let your head turn and just rest there for a moment. And even that's kind of interesting because your head turns in a certain direction. And why does it turn in that way? Now rest your forehead in the middle and bring your arms up so that they are resting around your head somewhere. You've got these little fists. You can curl your hands. Don't have them extended too much. just softly curl, and spread your legs a little wider than normal so you feel stable. Now, will you make a small movement just as you are, lifting your head just a little bit from the floor and putting it down? Just a little, don't make it big. Just notice where the work is. What's lifting your head? There's no string from the ceiling. You're using yourself in a certain way. And everyone's probably moving differently. And what presses when you lift your head? Just a little bit. And when your head goes down, what presses? So feel that part when you lift your head and make it clear in your mind and notice what's going on in your back. And what do you see? Are you lifting with the muscles of your neck? How far is it easy? And what are you looking at? Don't force it, but what are the eyes aiming at? How much can you see? It's probably not very much. And let that go and rest your head a moment. So let's say this is the next phase of what a baby is doing. So they spend their earliest time on their back when they're not being held, and then eventually they somehow end up on their front, and it creates a whole other set of conditions because you've got to be able to have the strength to lift your head in order to be able to do anything on your front, and that's not obvious. That takes a lot of learning. Bring your head back to the middle. Now press your forehead into the ground. Just press it a little bit and let it ease. Go back to just being simple. Press, let it go. As if you've just discovered that you had a head on the ground. And then a couple of times, lift and drop it. Just like a woodpecker. Bounce it a bit. Don't raise it. Don't strain. You just bounce your forehead as if you don't have the muscles yet to lift it. You lift it, it falls. Because that's where the baby's at. Doesn't know how to use its neck or its back. It's just discovered, oh wow, I can lift my head, but I can't go very far. Let's see how fast I can do it. And let that rest. Now please press both hands into the floor. You have little fists like a baby. They don't have extended fingers. They just have little fists that are all curled up. Press them into the floor and discover what it's like to press your hands into the floor. Let the head be quiet, the shoulders, and so on. Breathing relaxed. Where do you feel the effort going? When you press the hands, something lifts again. What happens in the elbows? Do they go up or do they go down? Just pressing the hands. Now leave the hands quiet and press the elbows. And what lifts? Where does the force go? Can you feel it in the shoulder blades? Of course, the elbow has no power to press by itself. Now try pressing just your right elbow and then the left elbow. So back and forth. And notice that you can move your chest a little bit. You can shift the shoulder blades a bit one side and then the other, and eventually that would lead to crawling. But we're not going that far yet. Let that go. And press your head and squeeze your eyes. And don't be afraid to be firm. You don't have to worry about damaging your eyes. You may not have done this before, but don't be concerned. Press the head, squeeze the eyes, let it go. Now, press the hands, the elbows, the head, and squeeze the eyes. Let it go. And when you press, feel what happens in the back and feel what happens in your front. And when you've had enough, let that go and rest however you like on your front. Now, bring your head back to the middle and press your head and your pubic bone into the floor at the same time. Coordinate it again and feel the connection between the head, the spine, and the pelvis. You're making a kind of bridge. It doesn't have to be big, but just feel there's a connection there. You can even press your belly into the floor if you want to. You can press your chest. So, head, belly, pubic bone, chest, and feel the long line of your spine from the front. Okay, let that go. And now, will you roll your heels together as if they are facing each other a little bit and roll your toes away? So the heels are facing towards the midline and the toes are facing away from the midline in whatever way is comfortable. Now press to whatever degree that you can the inside edge of your feet. Both feet, press them. It's not just a pressing, it's a pushing and pressing a little bit. As if you want to slide yourself up the mat. And notice how far up your legs and into your back the trajectory of the force goes. As if you wanted to slide along the mat like you're on oil. Or maybe you just feel like a fish or something, preparing yourself, propelling yourself with your feet. Now, readjust your legs so your lower legs lift and the soles of your feet are towards the ceiling. To the degree that you can. Now press your knees, and what lifts? What lifts when you press your knees down towards the floor? Press your right knee only. What activates? Press your left knee only. And then lift your left knee only a little bit and let it drop down. So the soul goes to the soul goes to the ceiling. Feel what happens in your back. Lift the other knee. Can you go back and forth a couple of times? Left, right. Sort of walking on your stomach now. Okay, rest. Let your legs come down. Bring your legs back up again. And then you're going to let your legs come down just by dropping them. As if you had no muscles, they're going to blub down and lift and drop. They're going to make a sound. You're going to feel a vibration and drop. And this is what babies do. This is how they learn where their lower legs are. They listen to the sound. They feel the vibration through the whole body. and then stay resting on your front. So what we've done is built maps, sensory motor maps in the brain, by giving all this input, because we can never heal our eyes until the brain knows where the body is and where the eyes are in relation to the body. Bring your head back to the middle again, and slowly, with these little fists, lift your head again and see what happens. But now you're going to use your whole self. Remember, you have a pubic bone, you've got chest, legs, arms. You don't have fingers yet. That's still too early for fingers. Do you see the difference when the head is supported by the body? That means that the eyes are supported and they don't have to strain so much. Do you notice a difference in your ability? And then rest. So this is the movement from lying on your front as an infant incapable of directing anything, to now you have enough strength in your neck, your back, pelvis to support your head. Now lift again and stay upright a little bit. Stay up and notice what you see compared to when we did it at the first time. Notice that the head has come up and the eyes can come up. All of a sudden there's a horizon that you have access to, because you have the support of your torso that's moving up and forward. And that's what the baby discovers. Now you can also look to the side. Look a little bit to the left and to the right, because the head is free to move. The eyes go to the left and the right. These are cardinal movements. This is the beginning of seeing. You might find food, you might find a toy. Now lower your head. Keep your little fists as they are. Now the next time you lift your head, at the same time extend your fingers, thinking, oh, I might want to reach for something. You might even extend the hand a little bit. And feel the relationship between opening the fingers and how the extensors of the body open, how the eyes open and lift. This is the beginning of coming into sight. It's what the brain needs to know to be able to see. Please come on back down and roll over onto your back and rest. Now feel the contact that you're making with the floor. It's a pretty simple little lesson, but notice a change in the way you're resting on the floor. Are there more parts of yourself that have released their excess tonus? You know, that unconscious muscle holding tension in the body? Even the muscles around the eyes. When we integrate, the brain automatically lets go of what it's been holding unnecessarily, and more parts come to meet the floor. We can begin to release the eyes and let them return to their ordinary function, which is to see and move and give you information about the world. And if you don't have good vision, it will improve the way you move, and the internal ability to see the world will increase. Go back to rolling your head a little bit, left and right, and see what that's like now. How far do you go with ease compared to how it was in the beginning? Is it smoother? And if so, how's that possible? We didn't do anything with the neck. And just feel the pleasure when we move with ease. Now rest in the middle. Feel your eyes now. And what's your sensation of your eyes compared to how it was in the beginning? Do you somehow know where your eyes are? Again, squeeze your eyes a couple of times. Feel the eyelids are pushing the eyes back towards the floor, and you can feel like something squishing. Those are your eyeballs. Feel that if you really squeeze hard and hold it for a bit and let it go, then the eyes get warm. And that warmth is oxygen, and that's what the cells need to be healthy. Now look up at the ceiling and let your eyes be soft as they are now, and anchor your eyes at something above you that captures your attention. It can be real, it can be imagined. The eyes can rest quietly, and then just roll your head a little left and right. Leave your eyes resting on that spot, and if you can't see a spot clearly, it doesn't matter. Just imagine there's something up there that your eyes can aim at. Notice that you can move your head separately from your eyes. The head rolls around the eyes, and you breathe, and then rest in the middle. Look at that spot again, and then just nod your head a little up and down, and let your eyes rest in the middle. Let it go, and roll yourself around and come and stand up. So stand beside your mat. Take your time and keep your eyes closed. And try not to adjust yourself. Try not to look at the computer. Just keep your eyes closed. Maybe you feel a little unusual. Maybe you hold your shoulders differently, or your pelvis, your legs, your feet. Remember, we pushed our feet and went up the spine to the head. Well, it's doing the same thing now, but you're standing. That's what supports your head. Feel the weight of your whole body being supported by your feet. Now continue to leave your eyes closed for a moment, and notice that you can see the whole visual field, even when your eyes are closed. There's still light coming into the eyes. It's a wide field of light, but there's no object there. Just absorb that. Let that be what you perceive now. So the eyes will relax into that field of light, and then very slowly allow your eyes to open as they want to. But don't look at the computer screen. So don't change or force your eyes. You're not making any intention of will. Just let your eyes spontaneously open and look around without straining to see anything. It's almost like you listen with your eyes. Let the world come in, whatever it is. And begin to look around a little bit, just as we did when we were lying on our front, fully supported. Look up, look down. Look at the colors. Do they seem brighter? Notice details, shapes, the edges of things. There's light here, there's shadow there, rough texture here, smooth there. Can you feel that you're immersed in your surroundings? Do you have a new sense of your space? Do you feel that you're seeing objects more clearly, sharper than before? Are the colors brighter? Walk around. Just observe. Really take your time. You can even go to a window and look outside. Look around. If you want, you can go, if you have a porch, you can go on the porch and look outside and notice what that feels like now with soft, relaxed eyes. Now, take your time. If you're not ready yet to come back to the computer screen, then continue. Slowly make your way back. And we have some time for discussion or questions or comments.
I have a comment, Cheryl. I just realized that I possibly did not sleep enough because I started feeling really, really cold and then I fell asleep and I needed my jacket. So, and it's really hot in Florida. It is like 87 degrees right now.
Good Lord.
But so I have to go back and do it again because I was listening and it was very nice. And our photographer is here, and then she said, "What are they doing?" And I was trying to explain to her what you're doing, and she said, "Oh my God, it's just like photograph. I wish I could understand English so I would see all the beautiful things." I was a guy telling her what you're doing. He said, "It's just like photograph. We do need to learn to see far away and things." So she was very excited about it. She wished she could understand English to follow you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheryl, Sherry, it
Yeah.
was absolutely fantastic. I have that, Renata knows that pain on my back, on the right side. And nowadays I am beginning doing more asanas during my classes. And today when we were doing this, I had the same problem, Renata. I had some peaks of sleeping. Sometimes I would lose a little bit because your voice is so amazing. And you know, we came from the lunchtime, so we get that kind of stuff, you know. So anyway, but when we were working on the hands, on the shoulder, right one, I do feel straight on my right side and that pain. Huh? So anyways, little by little, it was getting away. And then when you said, now lying down on your front, I said, okay, she's asking, I'm gonna do, but months I could not lie down on my belly.
Oh,
And I completely lay down on my belly and didn't feel any pain on my back.
good.
Totally. So I was just trying different, ways to put my head to see if it would bother my lower back. But no, then I was like, oh, caramba, that feels really good on my back. And I said, I want to do it again. Stop sleeping, Shivakami. Stop sleeping, pay attention.
That's okay.
So finally, so sometimes I would not do because I was sleeping. And then I decided to go back on my back and to see, and I was able to go back, lying down my back without feeling any pain in the lower back. So I just felt more comfortable bending my knees so that the lower back would accommodate better on the floor. But anyways, it was amazing. I hope everybody had this amazing time ahead. I'm gonna if I could, I would do this with you every day.
Yes.
You can see on
Really?
the recording.
Ah, that's right. So Renata, this part of the relaxation, that is amazing. Love it. I love it. I love this. Was even better than in London.
Thank you, Shivakami. Thank you very much.
Very, very, very good. I said, gosh, to explain about eye exercise, I'm going to bring a share in all my part 1 programs.
Oh, yay!
We have to open a space, an ashram there and offer all of these things to people. Oh gosh, that's my dream. It would be wonderful.
I don't know if anyone felt a difference at the end, but I remember doing this work, and I would walk outside, and everything I just said to you about the colors, and I was seeing 3-dimensionally, and I was taking so much time. I was looking at the edges of the houses and the doorways and the colors. I was stopping. It was so incredible to me, noticing space, feeling like I was immersed in the space. I don't know if any of you had a kind of experience like this.
I was feeling the connections in the body. That is always amazes me. How the eyes are so connected with the different parts of the body. And then when you said, how do you feel this? How do you feel that? It was really fantastic. Really fantastic. I would like to hear more about from other people. Do we have time? Was amazing. Very great, very good, very good.
Thank you, Shivakami.
If anyone wants to say anything, just raise your hand and I'll make sure I open your microphone back. Oh, wait a second. Oop, where are you? Right here. You changed. Oh, she's frozen. Oh, she's frozen. Anyone else? I think I just lost her. Anyone else? Oh, she's back. There she is. Yes.
I can talk now. You can hear me?
Yes.
Sherry, I really loved it. And there's a couple of things that one didn't have anything to do with the eyes, or maybe it did, but I tend to have a little bit of scoliosis in my lower spine, and my pelvis is a little rotated. But after doing all of it, I got up out of that, and my spine feels so much. Not that I've ever had any pain conscious of it, but I just feel like all the muscles are just working appropriately. And the second time I got on my back, my posture totally changed. As far as like my one foot really rolls out on one side because I'm just sort of off balance, but I was like more even. And I did have that experience with my eyes when it was all done. It was just, everything was, I wear glasses, but I didn't have them on. And I thought, I can really see better without my glasses. Everything was a little more crisp than it would have been normally hadn't had my glasses on.
And you're right, Beth, that
but it was just, it was really amazing.
thank you. You're right, Beth.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
They've done studies with children and their eyes and their posture. It definitely affects your posture. I've noticed this myself, that this elusive middle that we try to find, and if your head is turned a little bit to one side, which mine is, it affects your spine. It affects how you're standing. So it's the eyes are very, very much a part of our movement. Yeah. So yes, I've heard that before, Beth. Yeah.
An amazing way to show the connection.
It was amazing.
Everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. That makes me
yeah.
dream about 2 more CPGs in this program. Sri Davis and Cheryl, and Cheryl doing how many days? It should be the whole year.
Wow.
LeBlanc, congratulations. That was really good.
Thank you very much. Oh, wow.
You're very welcome. You are very welcome.
Well, you need consistency, right? So you only make the change if you do it every day. So do you have an online, like 20 minutes practice for some time? Who knows?
Well, I'm going to give you, I did some research. I have several references. And if you want to do this work, I will give you David Weber's info. He has a website called Seeing Clearly. So if you want to explore some more of this work, there's lots of things about, the eyes. And so, yes. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was very happy to offer it. Oh, Abigail raised her hand. Abigail. Hi, Abigail. It's been a long
Hello.
time.
Yes, I was really looking forward for this workshop because I remembered the one in London and it was very powerful for me. I wanted to ask you to say a few more words when you were instructing us and you told us to open our fists and see the difference, when we were on our lying down on our stomach and we had our fists closed, and Rose, and you said, oh, now open your hands up and look around and see how that influences. If you could say a few more words about that difference between your hands being closed and opening with your sight.
Well, I said that when you spread your fingers and open your hands, it opens the extensors in your body. So for instance, for me, I don't bend backwards very easily. It took me a long time I've said this before, to regain the curves in my spine and to be able to learn how to bend backwards. Oh boy, oh boy. So I've explored this, and it's true that when you spread your fingers, you open your eyes, the back muscles engage and they help you to lift. Even if you stick your tongue out at the same time, all these things are connected. And I feel that in my body, that when I push with my hands and extend my fingers, I can lift my head and lift my eyes. So quite often when I'm working with kids now, I quite often talk about their eyes and ask, where are you looking? Are you looking up? Are you looking in the middle? Are you looking down? Even when we move, sometimes when it's better to be looking up, we're looking down. Or we're turning, we're looking down because we're involved. But, when we turn a corner, for instance, our eyes go, then our head, then our body. You know, the eyes move first because our eyes follow our mind. So even when you were doing all that work, I ask you to think of your hand. Your eye is going to go to that hand. So, yeah, so knowing where your eyes are when you're moving is really important. So I don't know if I answered your question, but to me, these things have helped me tremendously in being able to bend backwards, finding all those connections.
Also, this is a proof for me, it's more than proven. The nerve optic connects with the brain, so the eyes is connected with the brain through the optic nerve.
Exactly.
There is no question about for me. This exercise proved it. I don't need any more proving it because it was proven today. And not just the eyes connects with the brain through the optic nerve, but the eyes connects with the whole body. And since these informations come from the brain, that's it.
And also we're very central vision oriented. But Hanata said something this morning, but we need to take in everything around us. Roshini was talking about a workshop that you did where the teacher immediately, you gained access to your breath. But that's exactly what she asked you to do. She asked you to soften your gaze and be aware of everything around you. And that softened your breath. So being able to see clearly, you have to see everything around you as well. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
That is what I call self-confidence. She applauds herself.
Oh, I'm applauding you. I'm so happy to see all of you.
Everybody.
Yes, I'm so happy to see everybody.
Very good, very good.
Thank you, Cheryl, so much. We are a little bit late, but the next session are questions and answers to yoga for the special child. So our teachers that I'm gonna ask whoever is the host to highlight now. I'm gonna stop the recording, 1 second.